Of KW Milwaukee. I hope you guys are having an awesome March 29th, start to your Tuesday. For those of you that were on spring break last week, I hope you had a safe trip and an uneventful travel home. My hope is that your business was booming. If your business is anything like my wife's or most of the people I know, usually as soon as they get to the beach is when they're called back to their computers. So I'm hoping it was booming for you, but you were also able to reset for you. Also, one other thing I wanted to shout out to the group. I don't know if you know this, but specifically here in the North Shore, you are sitting amongst royalty because there was a public announcement that we have a member of our squad that has joined the band The Eagles for a one-night performance, hence the Hotel California to start your morning. But shout out to Andy Stillman, who is a part of the Master Singers of Milwaukee, who will be the backup singers for the Eagles concert on tomorrow night at Fiserv Forum. That is the extent of which Stillman can speak about it because he had to sign an NDA. So if you're going to the Eagles concert, be on the lookout for the Master Singers of Milwaukee, and he will rise up out of the stage. Something tells me that does not surprise me. All right. So with that, jumping into it as we do every week, I want to ground ourselves in our mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspectives, and touch on two things as it relates to that. And last 2 weeks ago, I shared a video that I thought really kind of encapsulated a really good example of Usain Bolt and the way he touches on people's lives and leaves the experiences and legacies that he gives and the legacy that he leaves and what he does with that. A follow-up to that conversation is a little bit more of a save the date for the group. Okay. And this is completely rooted into who we are and within our communities. But in my opinion, and having done this now for 5-6 years, my favorite day in the KW world is Thursday, May 12th. Okay, save the date right now, Thursday, May 12th. Here's why. Well, and let me lead that up with a story as to why Thursday, May 12th is my favorite day of the year. But here's my perspective for you as a story. And if you're like me, you usually either before you go to bed or before you get out of bed in the morning, you usually jump onto Twitter and I scroll through and I consume content on Twitter. And I saw a tweet last week that someone shared, and it said this: the untold story of 2021 is people became kinder. Global rates of helping strangers, volunteering, and giving to charity are nearly 25% above pre-pandemic levels. The dominant response to suffering is not selfishness, it's compassion. The worst of times bring out the best in us. And here was the graph that they associated to this tweet that I thought was incredibly, incredibly interesting. And it was the graph here you can see is those who have helped a stranger. And this dates back to 2006, right? And across a wide variety of world geographics, right? From Asia to Europe to New Zealand, Australia, I mean, all over the world. And it was really interesting. You see spikes around the 08 to 10 period, right? During the financial crisis. And then look what happened. The purple line is when the pandemic hit in March of 2020. And look at the spikes that people had of helping others in the last essentially 2 years, right? And I want to read this again because I want you to save the date for May 12th. The untold story of 2021 is people became kinder. Global rates of helping strangers, volunteering, and giving to charity are nearly 25% of pre-pandemic levels. The dominant response to suffering is not selfishness, it's compassion. The worst of times bring out the best in us. So why do I keep telling you to save the date for Thursday, May 12th? Is Red Day. And Red Day around in our world is renew, energize, and donate. We've done some incredible things with the Boys and Girls Clubs. We've done things with Schlitz Autobahn Center. We've built homes with Habitat for Humanity. Last year, we had about 100 people that went out to Zacharias Acres out in the Oconomowoc area to give, which is a farm for children with special needs. And so we have Red Day on the books, and I'm putting this on your calendar roughly 6 weeks in advance because I will tell you it's an incredible day to be with your peers, to talk about the business, to talk about your personal lives, to get to know each other, to create connections. Thursday, May 12th. With that, there's a blessing and a curse with regards to the size of our group, okay? The blessing is we have so many hands that want to help. Lots of hands make light work. The curse is not many organizations can take on organizations of our size when so many people raise their hand to say, hey, we want to do it. Good news, Zacharias Acres would love to host us back because last year we were their largest group they've ever hosted, and they need more help in order to help their facility run and operate and get things going for the children who want to come out and experience the gift of life and the gift of earth and everything around providing them a sensory experience. Where we also need your help is we need help identifying one or two more organizations, preferably in the metro area, either downtown, east side, or even over, Tosa, Elm Grove, Brookfield, that can handle a group of our size. Habitat, unfortunately, because of everything that's been going on in the world, can't handle our group. They said, hey, we'll take 10 of you. I said, well, how about we 10X that? I want 100 of us. They said, well, we can't 10X that because we can't handle you. So what we're really, really looking for, shoot myself, Deej, Mandy, Josh, Megan, Sydney, Britt, Jackie, Willis, anybody on my team, we are looking for 1 to 2 really quality organizations in the metro area that wants and needs help. I know lots of people need help, but we want to hit them with a wave of help so that instead of having a week of volunteering, we can get a lot of work done. Many hands make light work that week. So if you would be so kind to think about organizations that are near and dear to your heart that would be able to help, that would be able to handle a group of our size, please let us know. And then within the next week or two, we will be communicating logistics as it relates to what does it mean for Red Day? How do we get involved? How do I register? All those sorts of things. But I would encourage you, if you're looking for a day where you need a little bit of a battery recharge, but it doesn't mean spending money on a flight to go to Florida or this, that, and the other, and you need it locally, being surrounded by incredible people, sign up for Red Day on May 12th. Cool? Beautiful. All right, with that, I'm flipping it over to Lindsay Vranick, who's going to give us a little bit of a marketing update around systemizing your 12 direct postcard campaign. Lindsay, it's off to you.
All right, thank you. Hello, everybody. It's really great to be here and have a room full of people in the training room. I haven't been here, I think, before I had my first son. So this is really exciting. So you guys, we've got the Q2 postcards back. So this is a great opportunity if you need something to send out to your sphere, or if you are going to farm a geographical area. We have the postcards back in action for Q2. So some of these are going to include the Milwaukee Brewer schedule. We've got farmers markets, garden centers, beer gardens around the Milwaukee area, and also a spring cleaning checklist. So if you guys are interested in implementing this as part of your 36 Touch marketing campaign, this is an excellent opportunity to start that up if you haven't already. And so if you have already, reached out and submitted a request for this last year, I will be following up with all of you who have already done that to share the Google Drive with all of these templates that are available to you, as well as how to personalize the back of them and then upload them into your command account. So be on the lookout for an email from me if you have already submitted a request for this last year. And if you haven't already, I'm going to show you guys really quickly where you can access these. So I think if I click that, because I linked it, so it should go.
You're gonna have to go to. Sorry, guys. Too many things open on my Google Chrome. Boom.
Can everyone see this?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I probably can't hear everybody. So you guys, to find the 12 Direct campaign, if you want to sign up for it, you're going to go to our website, kwrealtymke.com. It's going to be under the Marketing Concierge, and then you'll choose the 12 Direct postcard campaign. And so all you're going to do is click here to sign up. And so you can see just a couple of examples down here, but click here to sign up. That's going to take you to an order form. That's going to come to me. That's going to give me, you know, who needs to sign up for this. I'm going to reach out to you with more information. I'm going to share the templates with you and kind of walk you through how you can, if you haven't done a direct mail campaign in Command, I'll walk you through how to do that. If you are good to go, if you know what you're doing and how to do that, then I'll just share the templates and you'll be good to go. You can send these out at your convenience. Just a couple other things, you guys, with the website. I just want to show everybody, if you're interested in setting up a one-on-one tech and marketing appointment, and a lot of you have already done that, but I also have a link directly on the homepage here. And this is going to link directly to my Calendly page. So if you want to sit down and talk more about Command or how to set up the 12 direct campaign, anything like that, you guys can go on here and schedule a meeting. One other note from our compliance team is they've been getting a lot of questions regarding where to find the referral forms and the W-9 forms for each office. That is also available on our website. So that is going to be under resources. And then if you scroll all the way to the bottom, we have miscellaneous forms. So here's where you can find the PDFs for the referral form, which is also a fillable form and zip form, but otherwise it's also here, as well as the North Shore and Innovation, the W-9 form and the Lake Country W-9. So if you're ever needing one of those, again, it's on our website under resources, scroll to the very bottom. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Beautiful. Lindsay Brannick, good to have you back in person, sister. All right, here we go, jumping back into it. I'm flipping it over to Sheriff Reed, because Sheriff Reed, we got some compliance updates in how do we help these guys mitigate their risk. And one of the things that we've seen, and we've talked about this a little bit, but a dramatic increase in litigious behavior of buyers who have a little bit of buyer's remorse, who are then going after the listing agent and the sellers because what they believe to be or what they will find to be a non-disclosure situation. So, Sheriff Reed, what do these guys need to know as it relates to how to convince your sellers to disclose?
Protect yourself, yes, and your client. Yeah, it's exactly right. We're having more and more issues over, well, I didn't know about that, or I want to get out of my contract because I didn't realize that. So we decided to have a refresh again of the RECR, which is the real estate condition report that almost everybody is required to fill out. There are very few exceptions to filling it out. But I did want to add some of the ways to talk to your seller, if you're a listing agent, to convince them to disclose everything. It is more and more important to, when filling out the RECR, that the seller fill it out himself. You're not helping him fill it out, but you can give him a prompt on how to fill it out. And it is to fully disclose everything that he knows about the house. If defects did exist and have been corrected, it's a good idea to put those in, and when they were corrected, it gives the buyer something to look out. The worst thing that a buyer can pick up off a listing is a basically unfilled out RECR where everything is no, 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 no. And the worst thing you can possibly see filled out is when there's a big X through the whole thing. So for very few exceptions, trustee and new construction, every seller is required to fill this out. But when you're talking to the sellers, say you've got to be as transparent as possible. Go back into the record history of your house. Think of the things that have happened in your house, how you've repaired them, or if they still need repair, you still have to disclose it. And you can scare them a little bit with the idea that these lawsuits or threats of lawsuits, or mostly threats, have been increasing rapidly in this market. And as Charlie said, it's a lot of buyer remorse. It's a lot of, oh my God, I paid too much for this. I've got to back this down. But buyers are not happy. And so they're lashing out in this way. So prepare your seller. Make sure that the the disclosure of everything on the RECR is filled out before people decide to write an offer. It's available in MLS. If any changes happen to the property while the property's listed, get out an amendment to the record and fill it out. That's better than a new record, because an amendment to the record gives a paper trail of how the seller first filled it out, and then any changes. I loved hearing Jay Schmidt's recommendation during the awards, that he said one of the things that he did in 2021 was to start getting pre-listing inspections on his property. That's a great partnership that you can do with your seller, and prepare them for a pre-inspection. There are no surprises when an actual inspection comes. Sometimes the buyers, in trying to be competitive, will even accept your seller's pre-inspection. So it helps clients on both sides and can be a very important aspect in today's competitive market. Encourage your sellers to dig out all their records and invoices of work done. Buyers want to see a history of the home. One thing I want to bring up, in the offer to purchase, there are lines 66 to 113 that are called conditions of the property. It's actually a very common flip over page in the offer, because it's this long list of conditions that affect the property. But you should review those with your sellers. I think most sellers and agents assume that all those conditions are matched on the record. They're not. There are about 6, I think, items in the conditions affecting the property that are not addressed in the record, but your seller is still warranting that those things are okay unless they make an exception to them. One of them being infestation with animals or insects. But anyway, review those as well as the record with your seller. And as I said, use an amendment, okay? These are some slides that I used last January, I think, or early February, regarding the record, but they have to be repeated because we're still seeing this. The record is required almost for every seller. So make sure that you double check. You can call me or Steph to make sure if your seller is in a category that's exempt, but it is a Wisconsin state law. It is not a real estate law, and you have to emphasize to your seller the importance of it. It includes condominiums, timeshare, and any apartments in businesses. And I did list who is exempt. 3 categories: personal reps, trustees, does not include power of attorneys. They are not exempt to filling this out. Real estate that has never been inhabited. So many agents think just because that seller never lived there, he's exempt. That's not true. It's like new construction, properties that have never been inhabited are exempt. But most sellers are exempt unless they're in a trust or somebody picked by the court. And then other things like family transfers of property. So if a seller says, okay, I'm not exempt, but I'm not filling that thing out, it's basically stating as is, but your seller needs to fill out the refusal to fill out the condition report. And it is a WB, not WB, but it is a WRA form. We have it in our library, and it includes identifying why they have decided not to fill it out. I've used it twice in my business for listing sellers, and it is good. It's what the seller wanted, and the buyer is well prepared. And many people believe that if the seller never lived there, they're exempt. I'm just drilling this in because I can't believe how many people still believe this. Full disclosure of any information on the property protects the seller and the firm from its liabilities. Say if the seller never lived there, but he had some work done or drain tiles redone or things like that, he can attach those work orders or jobs done to the condition report, showing that there was work done on the property even though he didn't live there. And don't forget, you have responsibilities as the listing agent too, actually as the buyer's agent. If you as the listing agent or the buyer's agent see any material defects while you're touring the home or you're pre-touring the home with the seller, and the seller refuses to acknowledge that it is a defect or refuses to acknowledge that it is serious or it's no big deal, it is your duty to disclose that in writing when you list the property. That's not always an easy sell.
So Joni, I'm going to give an example because this is a real life lawsuit that we have faced. An agent noticed a leaky roof. Example one, the seller didn't know anything about it because they never lived there. The agent has a duty, yes or yes, to disclose that they saw a leaky roof.
True.
Thank you. Next example.
In writing. They have
In writing.
In writing.
Heavy rains happen. The seller lives there for 20 years, says the basement is dry as a bone. I've never seen water before in my life. The listing agent, being a good listing agent, knowing that many people have water in their basements after a heavy rain in the spring, decides to check on their listing. They noticed a little trickle in the corner because maybe the corner's out of plumb or there's a little crack. The seller gets relatively upset because the listing agent points out some water in the basement. The listing agent or the seller decides to convince the listing agent that we shouldn't disclose this. That's bad practice or worse practice?
Both.
Both. Yeah, thank you. Point being is, guys, when you have a license, you have a higher fiduciary to disclose if you find material adverse defects. Don't be negligent in the event of trying to keep a seller happy because it will get you in trouble. Okay? So if you see something, you know, as they say in the airports, if you see something, say something. If you see something, put it in writing.
And someone asked where in writing. In the library, in the zip form library, there is a form of material adverse facts.
Yes.
I forgot what
We
it's
are
called.
here to help protect you and your license. Yes, Stephanie Miller has a question.
What do you do then if you go through a house and listing, you point out the things you see, you get the listing, they fill out the condition report, and they omit the things that you already saw and pointed out?
Joan, the question is, a listing agent goes into a property, notices a few items. The seller does not disclose those on the record that is received back to the listing agent. Their responsibility is?
Right there on that last slide, the agent's responsibility is to, if they think it's incorrect or incomplete, the licensee would make a timely written disclosure of material adverse facts as appropriate. And if you're looking for it, I can help you find it, but it is in our library.
Perfect. Joni, thank you. Guys, these are real-time issues that we're facing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. If you have questions, know this. Joan and Steph are here to protect your ability to earn an income, which is to protect your license. So don't be afraid to check it out. Cool? All right, upcoming trainings and events. I'm going to go through this quickly because I want to get to a real conversation about where the market of the moment is. First of all, a bunch of people graduated Accelerator roughly 2 weeks ago. Kaylee Walsh, Devin McCormick, Mike Zadek, Sasha Verche Ward, Susie Sheridan, my apologies, Sheridan, Heather, and Tim Reardon. Guys, congrats on building the foundation in your business. Next up, what's coming on this week? First of all, in Lake Country right after this, they're having a conversation all around leverage. So they'll be out there in Lake Country talking about that. Tomorrow from 11 to 2, there's a KWYP event that is pre-registered. It is sold out. So if you aren't on the list, no worries. We'll get you on the next one. A great conversation around leadership and how, here's the truth. The average age of a GMAR associate is, any takers?
72.
59 and a half years old. Here's what I also know. If you look ahead at the next 5 to 10 years of this industry, there's going to be massive, massive turnover. It's vital that we pour into those that are entering the business at a younger age to help them build the business, because we have to build the bench for the turnover that will occur across our industry in the next 5 to 10 years. So we're looking forward to a great conversation with KWYP. Next up, coming up in the month of April, more information still to come, but you're going to see some gaps. Reason being is the week of the 11th is the week of Easter. That's the second big wave of spring break. Also, please note that the offices across our organization will be closed on Friday, April 15th for for Good Friday, which is Easter weekend on April 17th. So please plan accordingly. It should not be a major disruption, as I believe the banks are also closed on Friday, April 15th. But know that we will be closing our organization on April 15th. One other thing that I wanted to point out, April 6th, Wednesday, April 6th, an incredible conversation around how to win with social media and be a hunter, not a gatherer, a hunter. That's going to be my theme this morning, a hunter with social media. So join a great conversation with Chrissy Klasky, Jessica, and Sarah Reardon, all around how you can hunt through social media to help you find business and connect with your clients. Wednesday, April 6th at 10 a.m. via Zoom for a great, robust conversation. All right, here we go. Guys, I'm jumping into the market of the moment. And here's what I need to tell you. If I were you sitting in the chair today, you need to listen with your antennas up so that you can be prepared for what's coming down the pike. Okay? I'm going to give you a very frank and real conversation as to where we sit on March 29th. Okay? I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but I also need you to mentally prepare where your businesses need to be going in order to take advantage of what the market presents. Here's what I know. Showing activity across the state of Wisconsin has dipped a little bit when you compare it to last year. Still incredibly, incredibly high when you compare it versus historical years. But I will tell you, showing activity is starting to slow versus what we saw last year. Okay? Not overly concerning. It doesn't mean we have a demand problem, but it's the first inclination that something happens gradually and then something happens suddenly. Okay? So showing time activity, there you go. Next up, sales absorption rates. When you look at sales absorption rates, this is the percentage of inventory that goes under contract. This is really an indication of demand and velocity. Okay? When I look at sales absorption rates and I see the upswing as I see, what does that tell me? It means the market is still moving very, very rapidly, very, very efficiently. Buyers who are able to win an accepted offer are being able to find the inventory they want and move through the inventory fast. The other thing is 16.4% of the inventory went under contract last week when there were roughly 3,100 homes on the market, is an incredible amount of inventory going into pending status. Okay. Again, the velocity and rate of sale in our industry right now still remains incredibly high. So when you compare the two, right, showing activity is starting to slow a bit versus last year. And yet sales absorption still remains high. Those that are continuing to remain in the market are still transacting. Okay. That's what you need to hear. Also, I want you to hear one other thing, because last week I went to the Wisconsin Residential or WRA Residential Real Estate Summit, which I was going to recap today, but I actually thought the data was more telling to what you needed to hear today. WRA said this: last year, 2021 was the best year in residential real estate sales in Wisconsin. Okay. That is coming off of 2020, which was the best year before it. So we're coming off of 2 years, which were the best years in residential real estate history. Okay. What goes up must come, okay, down. The reason I tell you that is there is potential that the market has crested. And I'll tell you that here now why. When you look here at units under contract, here's a couple things you need to know. We have not seen the significant increases of units that have gone under contract when we compare it versus January and February of this year. How do I know that? Let's take a look. Last year, March of 21, we saw 41% more units that went under contract than the month prior of February 21. Okay, 41%. So far, we're seeing about even. I mean, it's gone up slightly, but it's not a 41% increase versus what we saw from February to March this year versus last year. Okay. And you can see that here on a weekly basis, going back the last 24 weeks. Yes, it's on the upswing from when it was in January, but if you look here in February, it was around 400 to 450 a week. And right now we're averaging about 500 a week. It's not the major pop that we've historically seen. Okay. Now, here's the more telling data, okay, because I think that sometimes we work in an environment that's gotten a little complacent. People have become lead receivers, right? The rising tides has lifted a lot of ships. What happens when the tide goes down? Okay, on a weekly basis in March so far, on average, units that have gone under contract is 502 units. In 2021, that was 617. On a weekly basis so far in March, units that have gone under contract on a weekly basis is down 19%. When you compare March of this year on a weekly basis versus March of 2020, it's down 4%. Okay? Okay? Yes, correct. Well, but it didn't quite hit us in 20 until April. Now, Stillman was asking about the pandemic. The pandemic didn't have a major impact on the data set until April. Now, new inventory units. This is the other concerning thing. Typically at this time of year is when you start to see the spike in inventory and we rebuild total inventory, okay? What do you notice on these two slides back to back? If we're averaging 502 units that are going under contract on a weekly basis, but yet roughly in the last 3 to 4 weeks, we're averaging around 480 new units that are coming under contract, what does that tell you? Our inventory situation is not improving. More units are going under contract than those that are coming to the market. Okay, we need to be real about the current situation. Okay, we haven't seen the significant increase in inventory that we saw January or February. And March of 21 saw more, and it's more new inventory units, 50% more new unit. Sorry, let me rephrase that. March of 2021 saw 50% more new units came to the market than February of 2021. Okay, March is typically where you see the spike. Now, if you look at these 24 weeks of data, do you see a spike? No, if anything, you're seeing the opposite. Okay, now, when you look at it on a weekly basis of new unit inventory coming to the marketplace, March this year versus March of 21, new units are down about 33% on a weekly basis. And March of 20, they're down about 32%. Okay? Just being real with you about the market of the moment. Now, where does this all correlate to? New inventory units are the lowest recorded on a weekly basis last week with 3,171 units that were on the market. Okay? I'm sharing this with you because your activities need to change if you want to survive through what we're about to go into. Everybody's talking about how we've been in this incredible period for residential real estate. Okay, and I'll share with you another perspective. Rates are increasing. That is a fundamental fact. Okay, and I want to give you a really simple example that you need to think through as it relates to your clients. And I'm going to give you an example that you can see live as a visual learner because everybody is more a visual learner than they're not. So let's jump into, here's what I'm going to do. Google mortgage calculator. Here we go. And I'm going to zoom in on this because you need to think about this as I know everybody has a robust buyer pipeline right now. Okay. The first thing I notice on a Google mortgage calculator, the most simplistic calculator you could possibly find, the rate that they automatically give us is 5.3%. Okay. 5.3%. 6 months to a year ago, does anybody know what the rate was?
275.
Yeah, I'd say right around 3%. Okay, so let's just take a look at this. Average price point of the home within our marketplace is $350,000. Okay, last year, and I'm going to use 3%. If rates were at 3%, your buyers on a $350,000 house, their monthly payment was $1,476. Let's just round up for easy math, $1,500. No, not including taxes and insurance. It's just basic, general. Here's what this costs. Okay, let's take a look at 6%. That same home with rates that are going to go to 6%, you need to prepare your clients for that now. Rates are going to go to 6%. It's the one lever the federal government can pull on to curb inflation, and they have this administration has to curb inflation. Okay, monthly payment went up roughly $600 a month on the same home. Okay, now let's take a look at someone's purchase, and just real quick, I'm going to reframe this. 3%, 1476, 6%, roughly 2100. Okay, Now, purchase budget. Average yearly household income, the median household income of the areas of our offices, I know this, is $117,000. Okay, that's the median household income of homes that in the 3 offices right now. We are going to assume, just for this basic simplicity, that this person is operating with 0 debt. Okay, and their down payment is going to be, let's just say $30,000. Okay. Now, interestingly enough, and we're going to assume really good, above 700 credit score. Okay. In the current market 6 months ago, with 3% interest rates, they could afford $590,000. We're going to, again, rounding up for basic principles. Okay. Now, mortgage rates are going to go to 600. Where does their purchase budget go? Sorry, 6%. I'm going to replay that again so you can see it. 3%, they could afford almost 600. 6%, they could afford almost 465. That's roughly a $135,000 decrease. So their purchasing power is going to go down, and their monthly payment is going to go up. Okay? Just want to set that in so that people are being real with their clients so that you can advise them and be the economist of choice for their clients. Okay. Now I'm going to have Maureen jump in because we had a big, robust conversation about this last week. And I'm going to have Maureen jump in to share her perspective about how she's navigating this conversation with her clients. Maureen.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep. Are you on mute now, Charlie?
No, you're good. What do these guys need to know?
Okay. I don't know why. But, 1 second. Yeah, am I good?
We can hear you.
On mute. Okay. We're gonna roll. Charlie, just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Great. Okay, let's roll. So you guys, here's what this translates into: a conversation with your buyers, your sellers, and your friends. Because Charlie talks about the opportunity to go into the grocery store and have a conversation with people. I'm having them like mad right now because people are unaware of what's really happening. East Coast, South, anything on the coast, they're getting hit right now with a slowdown market. Not bad, not horrible, but people are starting to notice. I've had conversations with some friends that are not in real estate that are down in Florida and one out on the East Coast in New York in the last 2 days. And both of them have said, gosh, I've noticed that houses are on the market just like a little bit longer. And I thought, interesting that you've noticed that. Right? Milwaukee's not a little bit slower on the take, which is great for us because we never see the big highs. We never see the big lows. 2008, we didn't see huge foreclosure market like the rest of the country did. Right? So Milwaukee, we're blessed to be in this city where everything is a little bit more consistent than it is elsewhere. But we have to take note of what's going on around us, right? What's the conversation? And this is actually not a horrible thing for us in this business. It's not horrible because it forces us to have a conversation with our clients and have a real conversation with our clients and friends that, hey, interest rates, I'd say, and I've got Alex right here in the room with Fairway, weren't they saying in December or November of last year, interest rates will be up at 5% by the end of 2022?
Maybe, yeah.
And that's what we were saying back then. Now they're saying we're going to be up at 6%. And we quickly, as Charlie used the phrase, what was that, gradually and then suddenly? We gradually, interest rates started to go up and then all of a sudden, boom, suddenly it happened, right? That's a famous quote from a famous book. You can look it up. Anyway, gradually then suddenly, and this is what we're in the middle of right now. And so the conversation with your clients and how this actually becomes not a horrible thing. I don't want to say it's a win for us, but it's not a horrible thing for us is you've got sellers who are thinking about selling in the next year and they're trying to time the market to maximize their value, right? Sellers are talking about that all the time. When do you think the best time is to sell? When do you think? And I've always said, I'm not going to see a huge change in the market in 2022. That's what I said last year. Wrong. So what do we know, right? We didn't realize the Fed was going to do what they're doing to curb the inflation. Thank you. And so when doing that to adjust inflation, how is that going to affect your sellers? Your sellers are going to say, now is the time to go on the market. If there wasn't a better time to go on the market, this is it. This is the best time right now before this actually hits our city, right? Before we really start to see the effects. We're starting to see a slowdown in showings when this is the peak of the year right now. this is historically the peak time to be selling houses, and we're starting to see a slowdown. That's a little unusual. Granted, we're just coming off spring break, not hugely unusual. But if we've given that excuse for the last 24 hours that maybe it's post spring break, we're actually seeing a slowdown. But why do we want to rely on that? This easily could be coming all of a sudden, right? So a conversation with sellers and friends about what's real and what's really happening in this market and what an interest rate rise can look like for them as sellers of their biggest investment, right? Their biggest equity investment. So now as far as buyers are concerned, right? Buyers should be jumping in the market now before interest rates go up. So you see, it's actually kind of a win for us on both ends. We might see some more listings coming in the market. Our inventory is going to go up, and we're going to see some more buyers jumping into the market because they're realizing, yikes, interest rates are going up. If I want to buy a house between now and 2024, we may be seeing some pretty crazy interest rates. 6% could lead to 7%, don't know. So I think it's a win on both sides, and you just have to know how to communicate that very, very calmly to your clients, because if you start talking about interest rates going to 6%, buyers and sellers start to freak out. Okay, reframe it. Why is this a great time to be going on the market? We need inventory to go up. Is that clear enough, Charlie? Okay. Anybody have any questions? Put them in the chats.
Perfect. I think what I wanted you to hear is this. It's okay for the current of what's going on. They're going to do this. Days on market are going to go up. Inventory, I mean, as you saw, 3,171 homes are on the market last week. It's okay for our industry for it to all of a sudden naturally get the inventory levels back up. The way they're going to have to do it is they have to slow down some of the deal activity. Okay. That's going to happen because they have to reduce inflation. They're going to jack up interest rates. So here's what I need you to understand though, too, is you think about, I'm going to go into your mindset. Okay. As it relates to, I'm not in it to have a great year. I'm in it to have a great career, right? We've talked about this a lot. And here's what you need to know. If I were entering this market and I was understanding the pressures and forces that are happening, right, and being real, both in my expectations of the market and being real with my clients' expectations in the market, here's the problem we face. If you just look at the simple time continuum and, time on one continuum, money or value on another continuum, you have this problem we face. And the perception is this. We go through these cycles, right? Whether they're economic cycles, whether you go through cycles within your business, and here's what happens, whether it's your business or it's economic cycles, and everyone's worried about, oh my gosh, am I buying at the wrong time? Am I having my best year ever? And everyone says, oh my gosh, we're so blessed. I just sold my home for more money than I've ever sold it. Oh my gosh, all of a sudden I have to buy or this, that, and the other. But then we hit a downturn cycle and everyone says the sky is falling. Oh my gosh, we're hitting a downturn, the sky is falling. And all of a sudden everyone thinks they're broke. Again, this is the perception, okay? And then all of a sudden the continuum goes on over time. And over time, there's this continuum that goes up and down. The problem with the perception is this. If you look at the two lines, right, the perception is you're either blessed or you're broke, and you either hit the time in the market or you didn't hit the time in the market. And the problem is over time, it's either one continuum or the other continuum of either high or low. Here's the reality of the situation over time. The reality of the situation over time as it relates to our industry, as it relates to what we do and the things that we sell are this, is over time, we're selling appreciating assets, okay? And what happens is over time, even despite up cycles and down cycles, is growth still occurs from an appreciation standpoint. So you have to take time over a period of time, not a moment of time, okay? That's the first thing I want to do as it relates to challenging your mindset so that you don't think the sky is falling. I'm just being real with you in terms of perception, right? It's not this, it's this. And growth still occurs from an appreciation standpoint. Now, what I'm going to challenge you with, and Maureen alluded to, right, was this. Ernest Hemingway wrote the book, right? Ernest Hemingway, a U.S. author, winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature. He wrote a book also called The Sun Also Rises. And the character Mike Campbell in 1926 was asked about his money troubles and responded with a vivid description embracing self-contradiction. Here's what he said. In the book, Bill asked, how did you go bankrupt? Mike said, 2 ways, gradually, then suddenly. Okay. How did you go broke? 2 ways, Mike said, gradually, then suddenly. What brought it on? Friends, and I had a lot of false friends, and I had creditors too, and probably had more creditors. Here's what you need to know. Okay. Why am I framing this up in this way? It's not because I'm telling you you're going to go broke tomorrow or bankrupt tomorrow. Here's what I'm telling you though, because I'm trying to challenge you to think about your time horizon about how you're going to make it a great career, not just a great year. Is here the fundamental truths of where we are today based on what the data is telling us and what we need to get out of in order to challenge complacency that may have creeped in. Here are your truths. People will always have to buy and sell homes. As Rick Rubin has famously said, he's never had a client go homeless. In this room right here, how many people have had clients go homeless? None. You're really good at what you do. Okay, stay focused on that. 2, the government is going to pull the lever on interest rates in order to curb inflation. There is a fundamental truth to that. Okay, so what does this mean? The market will open up from an inventory perspective, and that's okay because we need it, right? As inflation decreases, which for the record may take 12 to 24 months, rates will decline when appropriate, but that will not happen until inflation is curtailed. Okay. What do I do? This is, if I were you, this is fundamentally the most important thing I'm going to tell you this morning. What do I need to do? You need to be a hunter, not a gatherer. Too many agents are lead receivers right now because they've gotten a little too comfortable with how good the market was and the tide was rising. Okay. And you have to amplify the intensity and frequency of your prospecting and marketing efforts, right? One of my 3 phrases of this year was bring the noise. There was a reason for that. You need to amplify your intensity and frequency of your prospecting marketing. You need to be communicating with 3 times the amount of people in order to do the same amount of business. Okay? If you aren't focusing on building your database every single day and adding more people to which you can amplify your voice and your brand to, and you want to continue to do your business or make the income you want to make it, you have to think of myself, how am I doubling or tripling my size of my database today? Okay? And you cannot avoid the reality of where we are. Make sense? Don't have rose-colored glasses. You have to amplify the intensity and frequency, increase the size of your database if you wish to maintain or continue to grow your businesses. Okay? And the reason why I share this with you today is sometimes I know there's a lot of positive messaging and a lot of uplifting, and sometimes I have to bring people back down to earth to say, guys, here's the reality of the market. Here's what the data is telling us. You know, everything, 502 homes that went under contract last week and only 471 that was new inventory. If you compound that over the next 12 weeks, we're going to be in a tough spot. So amplify your intensity and frequency of your marketing and increase the size of your database. With that, I hope everybody has an incredible Tuesday. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Lake Country Group, I'll let you jump over to the Lake Country Meetup. North Shore Tosa Group, I'll jump over to new listing needs. Guys, have a great week. We are here to serve you. Anything you need, let us know.
You ready, Charlie?
Yes, go ahead.
It's Brian Papp. So I got 2 listings.
Hold on one sec. Hold on one sec.
Okay.